everybody.
How's it going?
Hey, you know what I was thinking of, David? You know
What's
how we
up?
say live now? What if there was a horror movie in which the person is like connected to the stream, and every time the stream comes on, that's the only time they're alive?
That's kind of disturbing. You should go with that.
Do you want to write that with me? That'd be fun.
That's the next hit blockbuster. Welcome everyone to another Playfulverse number 28.
And it's a pretty special one.
It is. Do you want to tell us what's so special
We have
about it?
our guest joining us, or rather we're joining him in his world, is Mars. He's a South African streamer, one of our really good buddies here at Creativerse, and we're going to be building something, and later on we will be joined by Dr. Evil B, otherwise known as Brian, to his friends and family.
His Slack handle here at Playful is dad jokes.
Yes, he loves his
up
dad
to
jokes.
his name.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That is very true.
So yeah, I'm really excited to do this. This is our second time bringing in one of our streamers who is out there streaming Creativerse on a regular basis. We're going to be going into their world, Mars's world.
Yes, we're building.
What's his world called?
Sorted Gaming, which I yesterday during I jumped into their world yesterday and I couldn't pronounce it for some reason. Do you ever have those days? Like normal English words?
Every time I read Twitch usernames, I am like terrified I'm going to mispronounce it.
Minecraft. That one's all right.
Yeah, Minecraft's all right. Hey, how's it going, Minecraft? But what's the theme?
The theme is. Do we have a theme? Let's see.
We don't know. I mean, like, what's his world like? And you can opt to not answer that and just take people there.
I mean, his world is mysterious, like Mars himself.
I like it. Let's go with it.
Well, if you guys, why don't we just go ahead and hop in?
Sounds good.
Cool. Put my little headphones on. And
let's bring in Mars.
hello, Mars.
I see Playful in the channel.
Hello.
Muted though.
Are we muted?
How about now?
Can you hear us
There
now?
we go.
Perfect.
Can hear you perfectly.
How are you doing
How's it
today?
going?
It's great. How are you, Mars?
Doing fantastic. We had a bit of a warm up before you guys started.
Oh, what were you doing?
Just helping out on Hogwarts side. I think you guys showcased that one a few weeks ago.
Right. I feel like the whole community needs to help with Hogwarts because it is a humongous build.
Okay, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. It says audio too low, Mars is very loud. So you were right, Barbara. Let me fix this on our end.
I had a feeling I was going to be too loud. Naturally, my voice is louder.
Oh, Mars.
Just a
You
loud
would
person.
be so loud. All right. Is
Big
that good for
personality.
you there? Cool. Yeah. Big personality.
Let us know. I'll watch the chat here. Let us know if the volume is better now.
How are we sounding? But as to the tone of our voice, can't do anything about that, unfortunately. So you're just going to have to bear with us. Oh, you guys were completing the atlas?
We rounded off the edges, so this was something for people who hadn't checked on Playful yesterday. This was something we did with Barbara off Playful stream, on my stream.
Whee.
And yeah, we rounded it off and finished the outside. The interior needs a bit of work, but we've set up a second blueprint for today. If you come down the trail there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that
I don't
is
know
very
if-
nice. What's this Lancar's doing?
This is Lankar's doing. This is the one that you mentioned because I asked you for a blueprint that, like for instance, that Dr. Evil B may,
Right.
or one of his, I think it was his favorite blueprint we asked for. And
Yes.
I thought, oh, there's no ways we're gonna have time to prep this in time. And while I was sorting out the kids for bed and everything else, Lankar here worked a bit overtime and spent a few coins, and we now have some blocks available to play around with.
I
So-
think that man just doesn't sleep.
Just to jump in, hey Mars, I know a lot of the folks on the stream probably know who you are, but do you want to just give a little bit of an introduction about yourself and what you are working on here in your world?
Sure. yeah, as you gathered, my name is Mars. Twitch handle MarzSG. It goes back from my old gaming community days. I tend to be a variety streamer, quote unquote, but I think I spend most of my time here sitting in Creativerse, and I think this is where the most fun happens, is here on the Creativerse side. And I always try and encourage, when I am playing a different game, I always try and encourage people to come back to this game. Even when I'm playing something creative elsewhere, I tend to have my Creativerse side keep shining out. I've been told. I keep playing like I'm on Creativerse. Yeah, like I said, variety streamer, about 5 to 6 days a week, usually, mix and match. And yeah, on this world, I tend to keep it just with my viewers and fellow streamers as well. We've got a couple of big builds we can't show off just yet, but I hope someday we'll be able to show it off with Playful.
We're
intrigued. Think, Barbara, you may have a hint as to why we can't show them yet, but we would love to. And yeah, otherwise we just generally have fun. We try look at blueprints and showcase blueprints, usually if Lankar doesn't have something huge for us to build. That's me.
Very cool. Thank you. We're really happy and excited to have you on the stream. Quick question from someone in the audience, I believe it was Minecraft, asks if, well, they're asking for the name of your world. Is this a public world? Do you want people to come in and join us during the stream, or is it more private world?
It's a private world. We're passworded and things like that. As a streamer, we've had to, I think back in December, I already had to password it because we were getting a few people coming through and with some funny business, to put it lightly. But if somebody's in my chat and they've been in there for a long time, happily let them come in. Minecraft knows the name of the world. It's called Sorted Gaming, but you know, it's the server's called Sorted Gaming. But like I said, it is passworded. So if you're a regular in my chat, yeah, you ask for it, I'll let you in, kind of thing.
So get to know Mars if you want to join his world. Otherwise, just enjoy the stream.
Perfect.
All right, so where are we building today?
Directly behind you. That's the blueprint we've got at the moment. I don't know if you're capable of... I think you can see it. I should have the second stream open up there. But yeah, that's the one that we built. Blocks are in this case here. And yeah, let's get going. Wait, you can't see it on your stream. You don't have the blueprint up and running. I can see it there. Like I was dropping it a second time to see. But it's fine. We can start building there.
Yeah.
I hope it's okay. I've been collecting a couple of questions over the weeks for you guys. So we've got some from the community, some from myself. But are we gonna have someone from the dev team joining us a little later? Hint, as in the coding side there.
We'll have Brian Graham, our producer. He was actually just here a minute ago, and I gave him the 1 minute sign, and then he bolted. So I'm going to try and get him back here, he's back. So we're going to do it like we did last time. At the moment, we only have 2 headsets. Come on down. So I will be monitoring chat, and I'll kind of chime in with questions, but I won't be able to hear you guys chatting. So.
But yeah, feel free, grab some blocks and let's get to building some stuff here in the background. Be good fun.
Hello, Dr. Able B.
Also, guys, let us know if you can hear the mouse clicks and if that's annoying, and I'll fix it.
Oh, I'm trying not to.
May want to sanitize this headset after I'm done. Sorry, I've got the sickness.
Oh no, the sickness.
Yeah, I hear you lost your voice this week, same as me. I haven't quite been able to stream as much as I've wanted to in the last week as well. I just found it pretty ironic that we both lost or had basically throat issues there.
Yeah, I think the team was rejoicing me not being able to talk for a while, but
aww.
It's just all
no dad jokes then, huh?
So like my mental prowess is maybe about 40% right now, so we'll see how this goes.
Which is better than most people's 100%.
Yeah, well, only in my head.
I'll try keep the questions light then. something that was brought, it was an interesting one here that was brought to me a few weeks ago, so I'm going to count this as one of my questions. But a question was brought to me a few weeks ago. Do you think we could ever get, well, a lot of people have said that they would like to be able to use, you know, the galactic swords from the bundles there. I believe it's called the Galactic Flux Incapacitator. A suggestion came up where they said, why not make those skins, like usable skins? So in other words, you would be able to use your Lumite sword, but make it look like one of the other skins from that side. Is there any plans for something along those lines?
So I will say, maybe I can speak a little bit more in generality. So I think there will be a big push on a lot of that type of customization going forward. It's something that I think we've been lacking as far as being able to really take your character and really customize it to however you want to do it. That will be a big push for the team. So like that specific instance, I think is a good example of the types of things that we're going to be going after. That plus a lot more that we have in mind as far as not just being able to change the way you look and your actions, but also being able to be put into more situations where you can show those things off to other people and share that with your friends and in-game, out-of-game, you know, that type of stuff. So we want to be able to create those opportunities as well as be able to give you that customization going forward. And then we're also going to take a look into seeing, well, how do we want that to affect your abilities within game? So do we want that to be able to give you, you know, the special power where you can fly around for 10 minutes with a surprise jetpack all of a sudden, you know, or something like that. So we're taking a look at how we sort of interweave a lot of these things. The one thing we don't want to do is just do random things here and there that sort of don't make sense. So we're really trying to build that core of the game out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's actually really exciting. That's more than I was actually expecting, because you know the other types of questions in similar avenues are like the height and you know height, eye color, you know, like the more simpler side. But it sounds like you've really got an in-depth view of what you guys want to do. This actually sounds very exciting on that instance.
Yeah, I would say we have an idea of a direction as when it comes down to height, eye color, hair color, like, you know, all the little specificity. We're not quite there yet, to be honest. You know, we're sort of taking one step at a time as opposed to just jumping to one little specific item, because the fear is, and we've done this in the past, where if we just jump to something very specific, we'll do that, we'll put that in, but then it's like, well, what about this thing over here that we didn't touch? Now this doesn't make sense in this context, and this doesn't interoperate with this, and now we're sort of like trying to like stitch these things together. So really the approach right now is about trying to figure out, okay, well, what's the best way at a higher level to interweave all this stuff? And then from there, tons of opportunities are going to trickle down as far as, okay, well, this means that maybe we can adjust, you know, characters from eye color, or, you know, costumes or masks or hats, or, you know, whatever it may be. You know, we'll approach as we get there, but we're fairly on way in progress of trying to figure out that planning. So it's definitely the way that we are going to be trying to push forward. A little bit less block heavy as we've been in the past, more towards customization from your character, how you interoperate in the world, and things like that.
You mentioned block heavy. That's actually one of my viewers, J-Law. He's been asking for this for a while, and I think he's not the only one in that's been asking this kind of question. People are asking will we potentially see new types of shapes, and not just necessarily block shape. Well, there are block shapes, I suppose, but he was saying like quarter round blocks, concave, convex. These words go over my head, but he's explained it to me several times sometimes. But will we potentially see that kind of thing being introduced as well? Is that something you're looking at?
Yes, we'll start. all these things are being discussed as far as where they fall in priority, but as far as like varying types of blocks, to clarify, when I say not as block heavy, if you take a look at our previous sets that we've put online, it's been a lot of different types of variants of blocks,
Right.
you know, and some decorative items and things like that. But what we're trying to do is to get it to be a little bit more custom for you. So not only on your character, but also within your world, a little bit, I guess, more away from just the squares. So a lot of those types of different shapes and things would fall into that. A lot of variations within your world, so that it's not very static from area to area. We get a lot more variance and variations in how we're going to build. So I will say yes, that it's possible to see that coming soon.
That sounds awesome, because I think your couches and things like that in the recent bundle, I forget the exact name, I'm gonna be embarrassed here with it, but like from the Pixie bundle, there's a lot of blocks there, like you said, that aren't, or a lot of blocks, for want of a better word. There's a lot of items in there that are less blocky. I assume that's similar to what you're saying in that instance.
Yeah, some of them were a little bit of an experiment when we were thinking about them, to see, you know, how well they would do, not only with players but also in the world, and you know, how they would fit. So the Ritzy Pigsy stuff has been pretty well received. So yeah, we can expect that, plus as I say, more of a customization heavier, decorative items, things like that. Something that's not only can really establish your identity of the world, but establish the identity of you within that world, if that makes sense, some sense.
Oh, for sure.
And if it doesn't, I blame the cold medicine.
Yeah, those Jabbits were a surprise. I think when you guys did your last Playfulverse, what we saw them doing with those Jabbits is like iron rods, or steel rods rather, sorry, for the buildings. I was flabbergasted looking at that and just thinking, why did I not think of that? Like turning Jabbits into building pieces is just phenomenal. So yeah, having different shaped items like that would definitely allow for more creativity, I think. So looking forward to that. Something that gets asked a lot as well. It's a weird one. People want to be able to. I don't know how I feel about it, but people want to be able to try transfer blocks from one world to another. What's your stance on that? What do you guys think about that?
This comes up a lot, and I'll be honest and say my feeling on it changes depending on what day of the week it is, and mainly that's because of the context of how we talk about them. And I think one of the issues that we have is essentially how we put you into the world to begin with, and how we start you in your own world, and we sort of encapsulate you within that, I'll say, private oasis, for lack of better terminology. As part of the customization, and when I go back and I talk about opportunities, put yourself in more opportunities to share how you feel, trying to figure out how we can open these worlds up a little bit more so they're not so closed off, and that may very well mean transferring everything from one world to another, making it more player specific as opposed to world specific, if that makes sense. And again, this is part of what we're trying to evaluate. It's little things that they may seem little when we talk about them, but by doing that has some major impacts on how sort of the core game of how we have it set up right now sort of interoperates. So we just want to make sure, again, going back to, we don't want to do just one thing. We want to make sure that what we're doing sort of makes sense in general for the entire experience.
It's like
within the game, and makes
the
sense.
depth, but also continuity, right?
Correct.
Like continuity for something that, like Ritzy Pigsy, it was something that was quite diverse in terms of, you know, for lack of a better word, the blocks that were being added, but there was a way that it kind of had this really beautiful synthesis with other existing Creativerse items.
Right.
So it was very different, but it fit into the medieval blocks, or even in juxtaposition to more of our like space industrial elements. So it's kind of requires this really deep philosophy that we keep going back and forth. And I think that's part of why those questions are not as simple as, you know, yes, this is something we want to do, no, it's not, because it requires connecting a lot of different parts, right, together, so that the experience is fluid and rich and individual, as well as just makes sense for how the game is laid out.
Speaking of how the game is laid out, we've now had like 3 different questions from people, kind of about the same thing.
Right.
Krista Starr on YouTube says, so people with low-end computers won't experience lag anymore? I know we've talked about performance a bit lately, but there's still work going on there, and I thought it might be a good chance, since we have a couple people in chat asking about that, to talk where the state of that work is.
There's performance problems? What? So,
It's all your fault.
Welcome to my, so I came on the team when November. Welcome to my November, December, January, February. What are we in? Are we in April yet?
Almost.
So
Almost, pretty much.
I know we are almost there.
Mars's birthday, right, Mars?
True.
April Fool's Day?
Yeah.
No, not quite. April 12th, but close enough.
So there were a bunch of posts that I saw in some forums on Steam, mostly, where people were saying that they were sort of frustrated because some answers apparently they were getting or they were hearing were that we were blaming it on internet connections, or their computers, things like that. I tried to make some posts on this, but I do want to be very clear. We have had, as we've grown, a lot of performance issues when we have scaled up in certain features and things that we put in. The past couple months, the direction of the team has, especially from an engineering side, has been pretty much focus on the core of our game, the performance, the foundation, build that stronger. That does involve some easy low-hanging fruit that we've already put in place. I think we've done 6 or 7 releases of just small little performance impact changes here and there. But there have been a lot that have required actually a very large back-end engine upgrade that we've been working on now for, I don't know, 3-4 weeks. We're getting close to being able to release that. Hopefully we're looking at next week, which that alone is not going to all of a sudden, boom, snap our fingers and people with 10-year-old PCs can go back and running this thing really smooth again. It will help. But what it does do is gives us a ton more options to optimize in a lot of other places that we didn't have. We didn't have that chance before. So there's a big, I'll say, foundational release coming next week that will have a whole bunch of bug fixes that we've got from the community, in addition to the back-end engine will be upgraded. And then from there, we'll be able to move a little bit faster in getting to some of the performance issues that people have had. It still is, and will remain even after this release, the #1 priority to make sure that we have as good of experience as we can. That being said, Creativerse is a fairly large game. I think when you see the back end and how this is put together, it's a little, I think, surprising for a lot of people of just how large it is. So will you be able to run on a 15-year-old, 10-year-old computer? Sure. Will it be as good a performance as of a newer one? Obviously not. We are trying to surface some more performance settings so that allow people to turn some things off that maybe they don't necessarily need, and to customize their visual experience and play experience based more on their computer so that we can reach more people. That being said, my goal and our team's goal is to get to a point where it's smooth like butter, and I'm not necessarily, it has to be targeted at 60 all the time, because that's near impossible to do, especially on PCs, because you just never know what you're working with, especially out in the wild. But we are saying the experience should be, for the majority of our players, pretty much a lag-free, hitch-free sort of experience, and that may mean some players may have to have their field of view a little bit shorter than others on much older PCs. But what that doesn't mean is shorter field of view, and you can't access features and and stuff as we grow. So hopefully that that makes some sense. But that's pretty much what we've been focusing on now. We are going to make some good strides in about a week or so. We have been testing it with some other select community members, and it's sort of like a closed testing. We've gotten reports that things are a lot better, but we also know that we have a long way to go still with it, and we'll continue to keep doing that. It's just going to be more situational now going forward, as opposed to huge swaths of the game.
Right.
I think I have to put in my comment here on that. I have noticed a massive performance increase already just with the little updates that you've done, and I'm looking forward, not because I can't obviously test this world on as you said amongst the testers. I'm looking forward to seeing how big of a difference it will make next week. And I remember tweeting a while back how many updates you guys had done in a small window of time, and it's just phenomenal how much work you guys have been putting into it. So I think a lot of credit's got to be there. Definitely, you guys have been working hard.
Yeah, I think we were trying to do weeklies. That's not a pace that's easy to keep up in a long term, but it was very much needed. And then we sort of hit this I'll say cliff as far as the things that we could address within a couple days, the low-hanging fruit things that we can go after and profile and fix. And when we started hitting up against that a lot, realizing that the answer to this one thing was we have to upgrade our engine, the answer to this thing we have to upgrade our engine, we realized that, like, okay, it's time to bite the bullet and we need to do the larger core foundational upgrade. And it's really hard because when you do that type of a thing, when you do a release specifically, it's really hard to message like, okay, it should just act a little bit better than you had before.
Right.
You're not going to really see anything different, and we just hope we didn't break anything. And that's a hard thing to communicate, typically to a general population of players. So
just a little bit better update.
Yeah, right. Like it's a huge update, but you won't really see a big update because it's a very big technical, more of a technological undertaking behind the scenes. Now, I will say, like, trying to count on like all the bug fixes that we've done that are ready to go in. I think like we're in the 30s of just a whole bunch of different type of bug fixes that we've gotten from the community, that we've gotten off streams, that everyone's been shouting at Barbara to fix, and then she just throws it on our plate and says, "You better fix this," and then yells at us, and then we cry.
In incomplete sentences, no less.
And then it gets really ugly for a while.
Yeah, it happens.
And then, but and then all of a sudden, Randy fixes it within 2 minutes, and like, why did you make me argue? And he's like, because it was fun.
Hardworking Randy. He's
but yeah, so we will have a bunch of bug fixes in there. Looking forward to sort of see some of the performance improvements. We have been testing against some of the more built-out worlds that the community has built. And trying to see if we have one server where it's before the update and another server after the update, and we run them side to side. So we take a look and we say, hey, look, it's hitching like crazy here, and here's what the update is not hitching at all. Or, hey, no, it's acting the same way. Okay, well, what we didn't fix that. So what could some other possibilities be? And then we can turn around and do that. A lot of it is, I've mentioned this analogy before, performance changes it's a lot like an onion. There's a lot of layers to it. You get one layer as far as, okay, this is the one that we need to really go after. We know this. And you really don't know what that next layer is until you've peeled that one layer off and fixed it. And then you're like, okay, now this is the next layer to go after. We are not at the core of the onion yet. We are down a few layers, and we have some more to go.
Sometimes you don't know where the smell is coming from.
I can't go there. I was gonna say, like, one of the things that people have also, it's actually been a massive addressment on my side, and I've always wondered, are you guys ever looking to get this on more platforms than just PC. And I know that's hard, especially when you're trying to sort out the engine just on PC side. I'm sure it's a massive undertaking to try and get it on, I don't know, for instance, Xbox or any of the, any of the other types of consoles or something like that. Is that something you could see yourselves doing in the future at some point?
Yeah, I do. Really, for me, and I think like I speak for the team with it too. It's like, we'd love to expand. As far as platform and reach, especially on our experience that we can offer. But there are a lot of things within the game right now, performance being one of them. Like if we're having this many problems on PC, I would want to take this and just move the problems around to other platforms. So,
sure.
So really what we're trying to do is say, that is in our minds, we would love to get there, but really if we don't build out and make the core of our experience, what everyone is playing right now, more fun, more streamlined, more performant, where the game identity itself makes more sense. Really expanding it doesn't necessarily matter. It just takes our attention away from, I think, what is the main priority right now, which is really building the core of this game out a little bit more. And then once we feel we get to a point where it's, okay, performance is good, all around, for the most part, we feel we fixed a lot of bugs in a lot of areas, and we're fairly reliable. Then I think that's the appropriate time to start taking a look at what expansion opportunities we have across platforms. But I do want to ensure the community that the most important thing to us right now, besides watching Barbara stink at this game, is really about right now our core experience for all the people that are currently playing, and making sure that we're nailing that a lot better than I think we have in the past. And that's why you've seen such a huge push. Well, hopefully you've seen such a huge push not only on performance but also on the amount of bugs that we've been fixing from the community.
Mars, I know you can't, or I can't hear you. I think you can hear me. We have had several questions from folks in chat about, well, let me just put it this way. I believe you have some surprise that you curated for viewers today. Is that correct?
Technically, I didn't curate it. I think that's something Barbara has to announce on that side.
I mean, it was with your help, though.
I suppose, but that, I mean,
it has your name on it.
I don't feel like that's my announcement. I feel like that's your announcement. Well, for you to share, I think.
I do want you to share once we reveal it why these are some of your favorite things. But we do have a promo code, and it's Mars. Funny enough.
That's ironic.
I know, isn't that crazy? It's 4 letters. That was perfect. Thank you for anticipating that.
It works.
Great code.
And we have a great...
It literally has your name written all over it, so...
It does. And it's Mars's favorite
bundle.
things. And we have some blue pigment. We have some very, very shiny things. And if you want to redeem that in store, all you have to do is go to the store, put in redeem, and type in Mars, and you get his favorite things bundle. But why are these your favorite things, Mars?
So I mostly picked it was the stained glass more than anything else. I just feel, I don't know, there's something about creating with glass that, I don't know, there's something that sticks out for me. It just, and in colored glass, just, oof, it really brings out. And when you guys brought out those ones during the Christmas time, and it had that backlighting into it, it just brought shivers to me. I don't know what it is exactly. I can't pinpoint one exact thing, but
nice,
it's a type of, it's just absolutely love it. I just feel they create some of the most beautiful buildings as well, like using colored glass, stained glass. I don't have a specific reason as to why. I just enjoy the look of it, if I'm completely honest.
I do see a lot of the stuff in your favorite things from our holiday item
Not just,
list.
there's also Star.
I said most. So literal.
It would have been all holiday items had I not suggested we mix it up with some older things.
See?
The new stuff is just so good. I do apologize.
Oh, they are. The new stained glass is just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So whoever worked on that one can definitely get a nice big pat on the back.
You're welcome. I have nothing to do with it.
Personally, you drew them out.
I don't want to. I think Lankar is gonna shout at me if I don't actually get to ask this question. But in terms of upgrading the engine, Lankar is asking: is it to Unity 2019 or is it an engine made by you guys?
It is not an engine made by us. We do currently run off of Unity. So we are upgrading to their latest.
Aha. Okay. And then something he was asking as well. At some point, would you guys be able to? This is something that goes over my head, so I'm gonna have to try read his wording. At some point, would you guys, as developers, be able to mention what the boundaries of what the engine can handle? I think this question stems from a while back. Lankar was asking, would we ever be able to raise the height, the max height of the game? And I think it was mentioned that it would be very difficult or not something necessarily on the cards because of the difficulty behind it. So I think that's where that question stems from. Would there be a possibility from a developmental perspective of mentioning what the boundaries of what the engine can handle or not handle for Creativerse specifically, I'm assuming, is what he was questioning.
It's a hard thing to answer because I guess my thing is I'm not exactly sure how to answer that because a lot of it is context specific. So, for example, the engine itself may be able to handle, different ceiling heights and things like that, but our game, because of the way we have certain things, may not be able to support that right now. That doesn't mean it can't support that in the future. That doesn't mean we don't have a different type of a mode that supports that in the future.
Right.
So being able to say, like, here are the bounds of what we can do, I can safely sort of say that we've been able to push the bounds a lot with our game as far as sort of where we can go, but it's all within context of, it's not just because we can't do something may not just be just a Unity issue. It may be also, well, Unity plus the way we sort of have some things architectured or our server environments, our regions, etc. So when I say we're going back to the core and really taking a look at building up that foundation, a lot of what we're taking a look at, not only from upgrading to something that's more, that gives us more opportunities within new engines and things like that, or upgraded engines, I should say, but that also gives us a lot more tools to be able to optimize and maybe push the bounds a little bit further. That may or may not mean world size adjustments as we go, but we always want to make sure that we're doing things in context of performance, because the last thing that we're going to want to do is do all of this work and then say, and because of this we can add 30% onto world sizes, and then we do that, and then all of a sudden everyone's right back to where they were. Great, you have a newer type of, you have a bigger world size, but now the performance is right back. So there's so many factors that we are constantly weighing when it comes to that. So it's sort of a hard question to answer as far as what the bounds are of the engine, because some of it is also context of how we're using it.
Fair enough. Makes sense. Makes sense. Would we ever have the option? I think this is actually a good one. Would we ever have the option to be able to gift other players super bundles or item bundles? I think it would be a good idea actually to be able to use, again, buy coins or be able to gift bundles that we can buy straight up. Another revenue source.
I agree. It is something that is on our list of looking at, us trying to figure out how we would make that work.
Would that be more of a Steam issue on that side?
No, a lot of our coins are done through Steam currently, right? All the other stuff that you see, like our blocks and things like that, with the exception of Welcome Bundle, are done within our game. It's really just about facilitating, how we're going to do that and how we facilitate that action to be done from a user's perspective. So we want to make sure that everything that we do is very accessible and easy for people to, like, if I want to gift you a Ritzy Pixie set, I went and I bought it, I have it in my inventory, and I say, you know what, I'm going to gift Barbara the set, we want to make sure that it's very easy. So that user flow is just something that we're taking a look at and designing to make sure that we stay consistent within how you experience sort of our user interface and how you access things, but also it makes it very easy to share things with one another. But the entire sharing system, or in some instances lack thereof, is really what we're going to be really pushing hard against in a good way to try and really build out more. And that really goes along the lines of the customization and the opportunities to customize, like I talked about before. All of that stuff, to me at least, falls under that.
It's really related to that kind of like where you were talking about individuals versus their worlds, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like if you open that up, how does that relate, like embedded with the question of coins and gifting everybody else bundles? I think that's a prime example of showing how interrelated those things are, and how you address that, and then you can slowly move in every other option that you want, so that the user flow process is simple and fun and doesn't have that strain of too many steps. Correct. Right?
Yeah, and I'm sure anyone that's watching this that you play more than a couple games, you can already list a couple that stink as far as, I want to invite someone to a game, for example. Why does this take 16 clicks to invite someone to a game? That's ridiculous. That user flow this sounds, it's a weird way to put it, but to make something easy is oftentimes complex. Yes. And it takes a lot of foresight to be able to say, okay, well, yes, I made this easy, but by doing this one particular path to make this easy, I've now made everything behind this a lot harder. And I'll always go back to that, we don't want to do that just one thing. We want to make sure that everything sort of has an interwoven story. So, and user flow is another one that fits within that. We want to make sure that we talk about internally a lot of times design language. It's like, okay, well, if we ever want to share, let's say the block bundle, but what if we want to share an experience? What if we want to share a video? What if we want to share? All of that stuff should fit under the same type of design language and way to do it, so it's all uniform and consistent. And we've been working on trying to figure out, what is that language for Creativerse? And sometimes we figure out the best way to do it, but it's going to require some changes structurally in the back end as far as how we're going to be able to implement that. So it's constant push and pull, and we're trying to figure out what that right middle ground is there. But I will say that I think being able to share not only block sets, but blocks you already own, blocks that you've even mined, or recipes that you've gotten and collected all the resources and crafted something, be able to share that with other people, and really make this experience about the collective as opposed to just your world type of thing, is really a path that we want to explore.
Yeah, it actually makes me think. There's a question I'm going to mention. This was from Demo Guy. He was saying to me, he was asking, do you think we'd ever get a? I hate to use the example of another game, but do you ever think we'll get a creative mode? Will that be something ever in your eyes? I've spoken about this at length on my chat, and I've gotten a lot of dislike on my opinions for this. I'm strongly against the topic, but I think anybody who's heard me say it has probably heard enough from my side. Well, is it something you guys ever plan on or think of ever implementing? I suppose it's similar to what we've asked already.
I'm curious to know why you're against it.
I'm kind of against it because I get the option. People like options, right? So we set options in our game, like for our world, we can set low gravity, we can set peaceful. So I'm all for setting certain options, but I feel that once we get to the point of creative mode, we're taking away we're taking a very big fundamental part of the game. I understand taking some piecemeal part and parcel here, and like I said, I'm probably going to get a lot of hate again from my own chat. They're probably all going to be shouting at me for this, but I feel like sometimes players don't know what they want. If you give them too much of what they want, they actually break the game in a sense. And I feel like a creative mode, even if it was in a separate world, for instance, a lot of them are saying, let's have a creative mode where we can design a blueprint, make a giant build there, and then just create the blueprint. But we're not able to use it in our worlds. We're only able to, or we're not able to do that in our own worlds. We're only able to do that in the creative world, and then we must bring it back to our real worlds. So it's sort of like a creative option. But I feel that takes away the element of, I don't know, collecting, building. You know, there's that emphasis on actually building something. And I'm sitting here hypocritical because we just bought a bundle here, and now we're building a blueprint. But there's an element of it that just tends to disappear for the game. I also, not to, I don't think you guys could say this as devs because they would look at you funny. But to me, that's a type of income that possibly is no longer coming to Playful. When you're at the point where you can just build whatever you want without, you know, necessarily being able to buy blocks and things like that. It does help. So I know you guys won't be able to say it like that, but at least I can.
This is probably why I'm not invited to streams that often, but yeah, I can say whatever. Wait, no, Paul's not here. I'm good. So right now, when I go back and I talk about things having an intent, we don't want to do one thing. This is an absolute perfect example. We talk about creative mode almost daily, in all honesty. We want to do it. We have the means to do it, but we're trying to figure out in what context. So you mentioned a good example. Like if you just put in creative mode without anything, it breaks that whole circle of you got a recipe, you have to go mine for resources, and that's part of the metagame inside the game of building in some instances. There's another side of that argument, which is there are people that play the game that want it to be more of a sandbox and don't want to do that what's called grind, of going to mine resources and think that's not fun for them. So the question keeps coming back to, it's like, okay, well, what is the best experience for the user? So from company perspective, so from the company side, yes, if we were, because as you've seen, like a lot of the coins, are to buy block packs because a lot of them have been very block heavy. Sure, if we just said here every block is free, then sure, the income would probably drop. But I will say this, and this is coming from a developer, is that the onus is not necessarily on us. I would say as a good developer to be able to say, well, because it's going to break the way that we make money, right, we're not going to do something that would be beneficial to the game. The onus on us as a developer is to say, this is something that's beneficial for the game. We need to figure out a different way to make money that's not intrusive to a player. And it's probably easy, especially in the cynical day and age, to sort of, especially when people look at corporations and stuff, say, oh, they're not doing it just because of money. I mean, that's always going to be a factor because we want to be able to have a game that we can continue to develop and support. Right. But that is not our factor when it comes to creative mode. I can say that 100%. We can evolve to figure out different models. Yeah. The thing for us for creative mode is trying to figure out where that fits within the context of our game, within the context of our identity. Exactly as you mentioned, if we were to put creative mode in today without having any understanding of, okay, well, what does that mean to the survival mode type of player? It could completely ruin their experience if we don't do it well. But we just made a bunch of other people happy. Well, that's great, but we just made these other people mad. Yeah. So what we're trying to do is figure out how does this whole story and how does this fit? So also when I say if we start taking that evolution more towards customization and your place in the world and less block heavy, you can easily see a world where creative mode complements those types of things. Very hypothetically, and this truly is hypothetically speaking because we don't have a design for this, but like if we just had a creative mode for just building out some fun adventure that you're making, and that's when you can use it because you want to build out adventures pretty quick. Well, if I want to build out a whole adventure to share to somebody, I don't want to spend the time having to mine that because my goal is to build out an adventure. But if you're building in context of by yourself or with a friend and you want to build out and try and explore what's going on and mine for resources, yeah, creative mode in that context would break the gameplay. So we're trying to sort of stitch this into the identity of the story. And Minecraft pulls it off. Minecraft is a fairly different model of how they've implemented their sort of voxel play engine here. So there are some things that we do go after and say, hey, Minecraft executed it this way. That's a good lesson for us to see of what works and what doesn't work. The way that they implemented it just wouldn't exactly fit, and it's not necessarily the way we would want it to fit within the Creativerse realm. So to sort of answer your question, yes, I do see a world where creative mode fits in, more, I'll say, short-term than long-term. Do I know how that fits and how that would be sort of woven into the story and what the limits would be? No, I don't know that yet.
More simple question, very simple question. Nelimi was asking me at one point, notes and data chips. Any plans to allow those to be in decorative containers, like placemats and things like that?
Yes, not necessarily those. Again, going away from like the little specifics, I think as a whole, we would want to be able to have things, like if it's a decorative item, be able to fit into more containers universally. Yeah. So that would address that.
Fair enough, yeah. So this one tends to be a bit of a weird one. Customization tools for...
She's friends with me, she's friends with the weird ones.
Customizations for landscaping. So I've got two opposite spectrums for this one. Some have asked for in terms of building, if we could have a tool that would build in, like a fill tool, to be able to, let's say, if we had, I don't know, 100 stone, to be able to build 100 stone in a forward direction or in an X shape or in a, would be an interesting tool to have that. So not in a blueprint format, but just an actual customizable tool. And then in the reverse as well, a tool that was suggested that I never thought of before, but it actually isn't a bad idea. Refer to it as maybe as like a landscaping tool. One, yeah, where it subtracts. But for instance, you could take down an entire mountain, but it only takes out grass and dirt, for instance. Not stone, not anything else like that. I thought that one was actually an interesting one when I heard that. What are your thoughts on the different types of potential tools?
We have prototypes of everything you just mentioned.
Nice.
that we are exploring and trying to figure out exactly. And our prototypes are usually fairly rough. They work, but it's not something we'd say, here you go. At least if we want to give you a successful experience, we don't want to do that.
And it goes back to the user flow that you were talking about, right? Like that on the face of it sounds pretty simple, I guess, but it has to have this kind of beautifully complex yet simple user flow to be able to be like, here you go, rather than be like, here you go, and we're gonna have to take that back a couple of times before we give you, something that's better fitting.
Yeah, and I think as we try and figure out how we implement these things, if you take a look at some of your favorite games that you've played in the past, or even applications within software, there are things that stick out to you that are like, well, of course, why didn't they do it this way? This just makes sense. Yeah. That is the epitome of a perfect flow.
Exactly.
I've always used the analogy in the past of TiVo, where I'm going to date myself.
TiVo?
I didn't say VCR, I said TiVo. When TiVo first came out, it was revolutionary because that was the first DVR. I'm not talking about their business model where they sort of failed it, but from the perspective of saying, like, they took a lot of things that were already existing or partially existing, and they wove together a really compelling user flow with being able to record programs on a TV effortlessly, the thumbs up button that automatically started searching and recorded things that it thinks you like. And it wasn't that one specific piece of tech that they did was revolutionary. It was that it all fit together really well, and that together on its face value was revolutionary. And that's sort of the analogy that I keep looking at when we talk about like user experience and flow. It's not necessarily somebody's going to call it out and go, wow, that was the best thing I've ever seen. Why didn't anyone ever think about it before? The biggest compliment is when people honestly don't even acknowledge it and go, they go click on something and it actually responds the way that you think in your head when you click on it. It should without anyone telling you. And that's what we're trying to go after, is make this experience so accessible and easy. When we get to those types of tools that you're talking about, the filling of 100 blocks and putting different templates and subtracting things, it's very, very easy to get complex pretty quick. Okay, well, hold down this button and click over here, and then hold down this other button and then drag over here. It's very hard to do that in a way. It's like, okay, what if you just had a controller? Yeah. How do you make that easy and flow for somebody? It's a very hard problem to solve with something that's actually fairly complex, you know, under the surface. So,
which is why they call it design, right?
Right. That's why there's people that specialize purely in that.
Right. That's why there's Randy. But
no, you said good design.
What? Oh, sorry. My bad.
I had to, even on cold medicine.
He's gonna come cough on us or something.
I know. Too late.
He's a little under the weather too, but design in terms of like machinery and tools to integrate, but also what different kinds of players are going to come and utilize that, and also making it accessible for different kinds of players beyond, survivalist or creator. It's kind of like, what is more accessible for everyone who can play the game? Not just that, but going on like, I know we have someone whose name is escaping me who always talks about graphics and lighting and her sensitivity to it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's about opening that door to people as well.
Talking about Eve?
I think it's Eve.
Yeah, we're fortunate enough to have a pretty amazing community, and I've been in the industry for about 20 years now and worked on some larger companies. I'll rename nameless for now, some fairly large AAA titles. And I would say, while we had a lot of community with those games and things that we've worked on, the passion around ours, which obviously, is much smaller than the communities that I'm used to, but people are so passionate about this game or this type of experience. And I've been so taken back when I came onto the team a few months ago. Everyone could tell me, oh, we got an amazing community. And I'm like, well, most game teams say we have an amazing community. Right. And but really when I came on, I was taken back a little bit with, it really do mean it's an amazing community. We have people that spend their time, maybe a person and Eve Austria, just doing wiki pages, for the types of items that we have and how we use those. And I'm just like, here's someone taking their own time because they love the experience so much. And
even before Interland was with you guys, as part of the team, he was creating tools as well for it. It's crazy.
And it's like, this is going to sound really corny, but it's just one of those things that, I know I speak for my team, but it makes us really want to do that much more, because people are really going above and beyond, and this is becoming part of their life in a lot of different ways. So like little things that we can do, like we've been trying here and there, in addition to trying to figure out what's the best experience. Like, for example, we've reached out to even like, look, whatever tools that you want, we'll give to you so you can do the wiki even faster and easier. You don't have to go and pull images. Like, let us know. By having that community, we also have a group of people that we can go and say, hey, what do you think about this idea? And aren't afraid to go, oh, I think that's dumb. And I'd be like, okay, well, geez, okay, I guess it wasn't my idea. It must have been Barbara's. Move on. But that is such a powerful thing to do, to have, and also the fact that, like, the larger companies, it's so much harder to tap into that and really understand what users really want. So we just want to make sure that whatever we do, we're going to do it within the vein of making the experience that much better for everybody. We know we're going to make people, we're not going to please everybody all the time. Yeah. It's just not going to happen. But
there's also something about just somebody knowing you by name and you knowing them by name.
It's
that
like
when
cheers.
you let them down, you're okay. And then you don't want to let them down. You know, it hurts on a deeper level than like this abstract, really big community. It's like, well, Eve will call you out, you know. So.
But it works both ways because
people chiming in on Twitch chat right now about how amazing Mr. Brian is, the dev team is, the community is.
That's what I was going to say.
I want to point that out because people are picking up what you're putting down. They're digging it.
That's exactly what I was going to point out and say. I know he can't hear me, but it works both ways in that sense that you guys are so interactive with us. I remember one day, I'm fortunate to be in the sneak preview group as well. I remember one day you posed a question. I'm going to say it out what it's here, Dr. Evil Bee, but you posed the question, and I remember sitting and debating a few times with you, and you brought it up, and it's just that interactivity. It's just, you don't get that with any other team. You don't get that with any other developing team. It's nice to be able to sit there. You guys are just so responsive and so open. You know, that's why I say, like, I'm actually not surprised that that's what's happening in chat right now, that people are just, you know, throwing all the love in that direction, because you guys deserve it. You guys work hard, and you're a very open team, and we feel it. You know, we feel it on our side too. I was very surprised when I joined this community as well. As a streamer, my jaw dropped. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, well, if anyone comes in here and tries to hurt this community, they're gonna have to deal with a lot of people. So good luck to them.
It's good to know.
It is very interesting if somebody comes on a forum and posts something negative or whatnot. Like within a couple minutes, there's somebody saying, no, did you try this, or you didn't do this, or like completely defending us, and I'm just like, it's okay, calm down. It's okay. They can not like it. It's okay, you know. But there are things that come up on the forum posts, and within an hour we fix it.
Yeah.
And like, okay, that'll be in the next release. We do read all that stuff. We honestly do. I think we're going to have some more ways soon to get a hold of us. We're looking at putting up camera 2. We're looking at putting up a blog and trying to be even more transparent about what we're doing.
I'm still here.
But so the whole thing is, as I said before, we're going to get some things wrong. We were trying.
You get things wrong every day, don't you?
Shh. Only, don't tell anybody.
Even like in real life, like the other day, remember when I spilled my coffee? Classy.
That was Brian's fault, right?
It was. He looked at me. He's like, "Good morning." Bam. There you go.
Ask my wife. I get things wrong all the time, but like we learn from them. We really do. So, for example, we were on those 1-week cadences for quite a while with trying to put a lot of those fixes in. Well, the problem was what sacrificed with a lot of the 1-week cadences was our quality testing at the end. We were rushing some of the things in, and what was starting to get noticed by us and the community was that, well, we were breaking things as much as we were fixing them. So we quickly adjusted, and we're trying to figure out better QA flows internally, some better processes as we go, so that we can sort of temper, how fast we get the stuff out and address things to everybody. In addition to the quality, so that's why we've been waiting so long on this one.
As a non-developer, watching you guys work through this, you guys have leveled up your processes so much in the past several months, from like a better task management system to like this weekly cadence to better like working more closely with QA and even outsourcing some extra QA. Like you guys are really ramping up and digging into this stuff, and I am really, it makes me really excited for Creativerse and where the game's going.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about moving forward. There are a couple things here, if you don't mind.
Please do.
But
call out.
There's a whole another screen, so I get really.
We're showing Brian the Twitch chats.
Someone was talking about the creatures jumping into ultra orbit. We do believe we have a decent fix for that in the next release, hopefully.
That's a long bug. That's an old bug.
It may not be every single instance, but I think we've gotten most of the cases. It wasn't as easy as it may have seemed. And there was another comment regarding like adventures need a lot of love. We know it's one thing that's high on our list. As I said before, all this stuff sort of is really sewn together here. So by better building tools, by better user flow, we'll also be able to help make the adventures a little bit better, easier to create, things like that too.
Any other questions you wanna answer, or does Mars have any other questions? Last question.
There was a small one. I can add that. Two customization things that people were giving as advice, but you've probably answered that you've looked at a whole bunch of customizable things. One of them was when doing adventures, having custom sounds. So if you go over a creaky floor, for instance, you could make sure that it's a creaky floor or a spooky haunted theme when doing adventures. But I'm assuming that's going to be similar to what you said there. And then the last one, and then we'll let you guys go there, is like in-game mini games, like apparently having a soccer ball that we could kick around that doesn't take damage, or and then we could build something customizable around that, or a fishing pole for a bit of fishing or something like that. Other than that, I think we've hit the majority of the really hardcore questions I had on this side.
Fishing is funny. Every time, fishing is always like the number one thing. It's like, oh, you're going to make a zombie World War II shooting game? Yeah, you're going to have fishing in it? Like, what? Always.
Also, I couldn't hear that question because I don't have
You want to know
headphones,
fishing was good.
But I just wanted to compliment Mars on your amazing like desktop audio green level, like the little green thing. It looked really good. It was very nice, very smooth.
Yeah, those. But to answer your question, yeah, that's what that is the path that we are trying to move forward. There was an awesome YouTube video done in Fortnite Creative where somebody did this little path that you walk down and it plays the theme song to The Office. I was captivated.
That's awesome.
and I will say this, like, you should be able to do at least that in your game. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. After you answered that very first question with the customizing, I think you had answered the majority of mine. Absolutely loved it. So, I'm out of questions. I know you guys are wrapping up on that side.
Yes, indeed we are. I think. Are you? Did you have anything else to say, Brian?
No, I mean the biggest thing was just bear with us. As, we're on this sort of this hurdle here of trying to get over for some of the major performance stuff. We are targeting to try and get the release in hopefully Tuesday of next week. It's been tested by an outside QA firm for a week, and we've been trying to fix some more things with it. We are hoping that people see some performance increases, even more so with this release. But even if you are still having some residual issues coming around, please send our official channel, send an email to support@playfulcorp.com. We do read through all those. It's not just some void that's out there. And
shout out to Entel
with your world data.
It's the first line of defense there.
Yeah, I know. Sorry about that.
No, he filters it all. He does a really great report on a regular basis. But I just wanted to shout out to Entel, who does an amazing job. He's the first line of defense.
And one of the things that we did implement was he has direct access to sort of our bugs and prioritization. So if he sees something directly in that support email coming through, it gets put directly onto our radar.
And he does that in under a minute. Like the minute somebody has posted, he's like, I set it up, get to it.
Yeah.
So you rock.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to, oh, sorry, David, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, we have, you can turn on the code again, we have 118 people have claimed the Mars bundle.
That's not enough.
That's not enough?
No.
Yeah, that's horrible.
I was going to say it's good, but Barbara says it's not enough. So guys, go into Creativerse.
You got to meet
claim
my standards.
The Mars bundle.
No one will ever meet those standards.
Thank you so much for letting us join in the fun, Mars. I hope I put enough stone blocks down
thank you
for
very
you.
much.
No, thank you. Thank you for answering all the questions there. One small thing, Barbara, please put the blocks somewhere so Lankar has access to them. But
I'll go back and do that.
Yeah, thank you for coming through, Dr. Evilby, as well. I just want to mention
Anytime.
a lot of people don't understand why I asked necessarily. Why I asked you for you to be here. When I joined the Creativerse community end of November, and I watched one of the Playfulverse streams. This is why it's just so surreal for me all these months later. I watched one of the Playfulverse streams, and I think it was your first one that you were on. You inspired me so much for the future of this game, and again, having this conversation with you, it's got me so excited again, hearing these things and the future developments. I think it's in fantastic hands. So I hope
He's like trying to
everything
make
you
me
guys
cry.
have
I
done-
swear. Well, thanks. I mean, honestly, a lot of that is just echoed with how inspired I've been, even just like going through the forum posts that we've had and taking a look at our backlog of things that we want to do, and so it's really just been a reflection of that. So I appreciate the time, and anytime, let me know, come on, and we can talk about what we're doing.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much, and we'll be saying bye, but you can...
Should we go ahead and let Mars go so we can kind of close out?
Yeah.
Mars, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have you on again sometime if you'll have us. See you later.
For sure. Thank you very much.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye. Thank you.
All right, guys. So
All right,
there's...
I can finally hear the full conversation. And next time I will get a third headset.
Well, there is the code again for you guys. It's Mars. It's available for 2 weeks. Has a bunch of delicious stuff to, decor all of your stuff. So thank you so much.
Edibly delicious stuff.
Edibly
right?
delicious too.
Yeah.
All of the
Very
holiday
interesting
goods.
adjective.
It is. I like it though. I think it's a great adjective. I was gonna say we'll probably try and let's see if there's someone we can raid. So if you guys want to stick around, do you want to?
I know Mars is still going.
Well, why don't
if
we
you
just
want
raid Mars? Yeah.
So you guys
You
head
guys
on
can,
over.
That's a nice transition. You can head on over to Mars's stream after this.
And thank you, Brian, for joining us.
Yes.
I know that you did really well.
The cold medicine
Even
is
with the
wearing
cold
off.
medicine.
I'm on my way down.
That's awesome. So
I'm gonna go take some vitamin C.
we're all gonna just nap here whenever we go offline. So thank you so much for joining us, guys. And there's the code again. Let's go raid Mars. Oh, do you want to do
Raid
it?
time.